I'm Patrick Davidson. On December 4th, 2017, the Thomas Fire ravaged hillsides, farms, and homes throughout Ventura County. Thousands of lives were changed forever. This is one of the inspirational, first-person stories from the community of heroes who came together to fight back, to rescue friends and strangers, and to survive and heal. On this episode of ReCAPS, our Thomas Fire storytellers are Holly Larue and Brian Heath.
Traffic stopped in front of us. We can't see behind us. We can't see anywhere around us. Suddenly, we're being pushed into the traffic. The truck behind us is pushing us into the truck in front of us. Smoke just everywhere and embers, fire on the truck. And the vehicle about 3 cars in front of us explodes. And then the next one. And then the next one. And then it's us. We were 100% sure that we were not going to live through it. And we were saying our goodbyes and I love you. And that's when Brian came. I'm Holly Larue, and we're at HLR Ranch in Wheeler Canyon, Santa Paula. And this was the first ranch that was hit by the Thomas Fire, December 4th, 2017. It was, I think, about, I want to say 6:30, and the winds were howling like I've never seen them before. And I was in for the night. There was a full moon that night, and so I came out to look at the moon. So I came onto the porch and the moon comes up over here and it was orange. And I knew then that we were in trouble and there was a fire. And so I went and checked the computer, and sure enough, it had just started 15 minutes prior over at Steckel Park. At that point, I wasn't really worried because I felt like, well, they'll be on top of it because of the winds. You know, they're gonna have it out in no time. But the wind was just so intense. And so right away I figured, okay, I got it. This is gonna be a problem because it was coming our way. And so I went ahead and I put a bunch of the horses that weren't customers of mine that had horses here that I knew would wanna come get them. So I put them in catch pens, in corrals, so that when the trailers got here, it would be easy to load them and we wouldn't have to run around. And so I got them all gathered up, put them in the catch pens, and there was another gal here helping me. And I mean, like in minutes, we looked up to the top of that hill and the fire was here. There was no way that the trailers were gonna get back here. Where I thought I had maybe an hour or 2 hours, I had literally 15 minutes that were gone, and the fire was coming down the hill toward us. So she did the smart thing and said, get in the car, we're getting out of here, it's here now. And I just went into autopilot. I didn't hear her. She took off, which is smart because turns out she just made it out of here. But I stayed with those horses. There's a tree next to every single catch pen. And I just felt like these trees are gonna catch fire and these horses are in here because I put them here. And so I stayed and I got those horses out, and they were really worried, and I was chasing them around, and the fire was already down. I mean, it was on my body, and I'm just brushing it off, and the horses were running around. Anyway, I got them all out. And then I ran up to my mom's house, which is right behind where the horses are, and she had just broken her hip. And so my stepdad and her, I ran there and pounding on the door because we didn't think the fire was coming. So unless they were looking, they'd just be watching TV. So I'm pounding on the door, get out, get out, get out, screaming for them to get out. And then I came back toward the house. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. I just was kind of in shock because the fire was everywhere at that point. My boyfriend was yelling at me in the truck, "Get in the truck, we got to get out." And I didn't pay attention to him. I just kept walking into the house. I don't even know why. So he was very careful, and he came and he got me and he made me get into the truck, and we took off to get out of the canyon. Now the fire is just on us. It's on our truck. You cannot see anything. There's no visibility, just fire and smoke, embers, and traffic stopped in front of us. We can't see behind us. We can't see anywhere around us. So we're stopped and we're honking. Suddenly we're being pushed into the traffic. The truck behind us is pushing us into the truck in front of us. And they probably are, everyone's panicked. Nobody knows what to do. And we're just smoke just everywhere and embers, fire on the truck. And the vehicle about 3 cars in front of us explodes. And then the next one. And then the next one. And then it's us. And it turns out that the first one was Virginia, the lady that died in the fire. Of course, we didn't know it then. And we were 100% sure that we were not going to live through it. And we were saying our goodbyes and I love you, and I kept just praying, I just hope it doesn't hurt. I hope it doesn't hurt. Just make it go fast. And I think we were stuck there for 15 minutes. We had blankets over our faces to breathe. And I kept saying, let's just run. And Fonzie said, no, we can't get out of the truck. It'll just come right inside. And that's when Brian came and he pounded on the window and he just said, back up, back up. And we couldn't see anything. So evidently by that time he had backed everybody up. And so we started backing up, and he'd hit the back of the truck because we were going into the barranca. And he backed us all the way into Ahmad's field, where we stayed for a couple hours, I think, hour and a half. And the fire just came through this whole canyon. We were sure that there was nothing left here, because from where we were, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. This fire was just, it took the whole canyon, and it was just everywhere. It was demonic, really. It was just insane. And so when they finally let us out, everybody was just getting out of the canyon. And I said, we're going back. I think my mother's dead. I think all the horses are dead. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to see what we have to deal with. So we came back up here, and I was so afraid. We both were so afraid coming around this corner what we were going to see. And the horses were all fine. My mother, my stepdad were fine. All the structures were up except one. We lost one cabin, and when we came around the corner, it was on fire, just inferno. So we came in, checked everybody, and then we stayed, and we fought that fire by ourselves, because we had, up on the hill, we have water tanks, so we had gravity-fed water and a garden hose that Fonzie had set up before we left. He was thinking straight and did that, and we were there all night just putting out fires. If we didn't, all the houses, everything would have been burned, because the trees were on fire. Those trees that were next to the horse corrals did catch on fire, but the horses were out and safe. And then at about 4 a.m. is when I was out here by myself. I had been for hours, and I was hauling buckets of water and the hose, because the hose didn't reach everywhere. So I'd fill it up and then run and put out fires by myself, because Fonzie had gone to help other people. He got me to a situation where I was okay here, and then he went and helped other people. And then at about 4 a.m, Rob, I think the fire captain, came, and I saw him, and I just literally collapsed to the ground. I don't even know, I collapsed. I was so exhausted. My muscles, when I realized someone was there to help me, I just crashed. And they picked me up, brought me in the house, made sure everything was okay. went and got Fonzie because I was so worried. They went and found him, and then I don't remember much after that because everything was under control then. I mean, the fire kept going on and on and on for days, but the worst of it was over, and I really know 100% sure that I would not be here if it wasn't for Brian, who backed us out of that situation when the fire was literally just consuming our truck.
My job on the fire was to be a forward-looking observer, what we call a FOBS, and to see where the fire is going ahead of time before it gets there. So I ended up being the first fire resource into Wheeler Canyon, went all the way to the top to the Search Dog Foundation, talked to a couple of people up there that were in the process of evacuating. And then within minutes, the fire came in right where the canyon is, east of the Search Dog Foundation, and then started impinging there. So I got out of there and started working my way down the road, Wheeler Canyon Road, down to the point to where Rob, Chief Shapanik, was, and his strike team. And they came in here to assist with evacuations and also structure protection. And they were in it to win it. They got a lot of good work done, and protected a lot of people and protected a lot of structures. And there was some radio traffic at the time that said that there was some sort of accident on the road. And I knew, like, for me, being stuck in a place is not good. And just the way this canyon's lined up, and it's a one-way in, one-way out canyon, it's dangerous. Because once your egress is blocked, you're stuck. And being that forward observer, I want to get out of here and go and see where the fire's going next and next and next. So I'm literally drawing a map of where the fire perimeter is at that certain time. It uploads, and then all the chiefs can see where the fire progression is going to, so they could start planning for evacuations. There was radio traffic that had some sort of accident on the road, and I had no idea where it was on Wheeler Canyon Road or whatnot. So I started making my way down the road and ran upon vehicles stopped. And so I went on the other side of the lane, went all the way up to where I saw vehicles on fire, and I'm like, well, this has got to be it. This has got to be the accident site. And so there's embers everywhere. I can't see 5 feet in front of me, and there's sparks and embers flying everywhere. I got out of my truck real fast, because if I didn't, then the embers would have just washed into the cab of the truck and caught my own truck on fire. Thankfully that didn't happen, but could have happened pretty easily. I got out of my truck. I walked through the accident site, and through the accident site was kind of eerie. There was 3 vehicles on fire and a trailer, and Virginia's truck, I believe, was overturned on the left side of the road, with their trailer also overturned. Walking up to the scene, the other vehicles that were on fire actually incinerated the asphalt road, the pavement. And so I was literally taking steps, just walking on the road, and it sounded like I was walking on frosted flakes. And it was very crunchy, like the asphalt actually boiled up and then, cooled off enough to where it was just crunchy. So it was like walking on something. I actually looked down, I'm like, what am I walking on right now? So I walked past the vehicles to see if anybody was inside the vehicles. Everything was very, very hot. The entire vehicle was incinerated by that point, and I didn't see anybody in the vehicle, so I couldn't get confirmation if somebody was involved in the accident, if they got out or not. So I had no idea. But second priority became getting people out of the way and out of the fire danger area. I walked around the vehicle accident up on some property, because the accident area was so hot. It's something I had to walk briskly through because of the smoke, and it was just so hot. couldn't take the heat. Got on the radio with Chief Shapanik. I'm like, hey, we need to get these people out of here. He's like, yes, you handle that. I'm like, okay, I copy that. I'll get these people out in the field over here. I've been in Wheeler Canyon before, been here quite a few times doing some weed abatement projects and that type of thing. So I knew there was some horse property on the east side of Wheeler Canyon itself. And luckily, right where all the vehicles were stacked up, right where Holly was an open field. You just simply had to open up a gate and then drive into the field. So I started knocking on windows of cars, you know, hey, we need to back up. You need to go into that field, stay there. It's probably going to be a couple hours, you know. And of course, people are always asking questions at that time. We just have to get you here from here to there. So I started from where our Holly was the first vehicle that was backed up next to the vehicle fires and the accident site, and backed her around and sent her into the field, and then did the same thing with the next car, and the next car, and the next car. About 20 cars later, everybody was onto some sort of dirt that was either already burned or, you know, as a safe cleared area that didn't have any brush on it. The danger with staying on the road was there was a ravine on the other side of the road, the west side of the road, that was catching fire and was lipping up onto vehicles at that time. So we couldn't have people stay there. It was best just to get all those vehicles off the road and to sit them aside for at least a couple hours until we can get some more fire resources in here. It wasn't simply cars that were backed up. There was trucks pulling horse trailers. There was other type of vehicles that refused to move, and so we had to work through those situations. One pickup truck I moved had its bed on fire at the time, so we put the fire out inside the pickup truck bed and then sent them over to the dirt lot. One horse trailer was starting to catch on fire. I told them just to drop their trailer in the middle of the road, and then we'll get it later if it doesn't burn up. So it didn't end up burning up. One of the property owners up here, Josie Willett, was evacuated, and she was in a car by herself, and I think one of her granddaughters or daughter came up here to where we were evacuating people. And she even though she's older, I think what'd you say?
She just turned 100.
She just turned 100 years old. She still has it with her. And so she's like, is my house okay? Am I in a good area? And her granddaughter came up to me at that point in time. She's like, she's 98 years old. Can she stay right here? I'm like, yeah, she'll be okay right here, right along the side of the road, instead of going into the field. But yeah, she stayed right there in her car. Some locals too that helped me out. They're like, hey, this isn't the only field right here. There's another field right up the road here, maybe 200 feet that they can go into. I'm like, yeah, go in there too. So another 15 cars went into that empty field and just stayed there. So that what that created for us was knowledge that we got everybody out of the danger area safely and off that road, and also created some egress for more fire resources to come up into Wheeler Canyon and to actually get in here to help. So once the first vehicle that came up into Wheeler Canyon was the crew soup vehicle, Crew 12 soup vehicle, and they got through the accident site. Everybody was off the road and into the cleared out area. And then I got out of Wheeler Canyon and then tied in with Chief Burris, and Chief Burris just had a ton of questions. He was like, we have a strike team up there, are they okay? I heard people, there's an accident. And I'm like, I answered all his questions. I'm like, yes, there is an accident. I don't know if anybody's injured or whatnot. Our strike team is safe. They're doing structure protection right now, so they're all good. Because in Chief Burris's mind is every fire resource that came up in this one way in, one way out canyon was compromised. Either there were deploying our fire shelters, or we were in some sort of bad situation, because the communications up here in the canyon are not that good. So you can't really talk from where we're sitting here in the top portion of the canyon all the way down to the base on our direct channels. And as you can imagine, the communications at that time were just, you couldn't talk on the radio because everybody else was talking. So face-to-face communications was the best way to go about that.
So that night we had 15 horses here. Since then, I have shut down the retirement field. The horses that were in the catch pens were customers' horses. And so I realized during that fire that that responsibility weighed on me so much that I literally risked my life to get those horses out, which is not something I'm bragging about, and those owners never would have wanted that. They're all friends of mine, so it wasn't really them. It was just an automatic thing that I did. And my own horses, I already had a plan for, that I had talked to the fire department about. Just keep them in these big open fields, and that's the best place for them. But people that don't live back here, and I would be the same way, are get my horse out of there. The whole canyon's on fire, get him out. So I understand that. But at the same time, the best thing was really just to leave them here. And so after the fire, I gave everybody 6 months notice and said, you know what, I just need to have my own horses here, because that just, it weighed on me so much, the responsibility of other people's horses. So now I have 7 of my own. I learned a couple things. With the drought, we started putting wood chips around all the trees and around the houses, and a lot of wood chips just for moisture. And it turns out that the wood chips that was our worst enemy that night, because once they caught fire, it was like having charcoal. It just burned and burned and burned and burned. And you would think that it was out, but it was burning underneath. So a takeaway is maybe don't use wood chips ever again. Also, the weed clearance that the fire department comes by and checks every year, well, I never had a problem with it, but if anyone does, don't, because that also is what saved our structures. Fire would come right up, and we still had little bits of weeds and grasses, but very little, because we follow the rules, and that saved us. So no wood chips, and do your weed clearance.
One of the fire department's priorities was to basically see the status of what the strike team had going on up here, and they also, like I mentioned before, they had a LA County Type 1 strike team come in when I left. About 12:30, they were coming into the area to do structure protection down on the lower end. And that's about really all the resources that were here for that first night, just because we were strung out so wide. It was just like a normal night, you know, barring the winds. Literally, the trees were bending over sideways. I was getting oak tree branches falling on my truck. And, you know, everybody knew that it was definitely windy, that the fire weather was there, but I don't think anybody saw it coming so fast, you know, as fast as it did, because once it came in, it came in and just kept on trucking. It doesn't matter what was in its way, it just kept on going.
Yeah, and on that note, it's not my professional opinion, but there was no fighting that fire. I mean, when I say I fought it by myself, it was not because the fire department didn't do their job. It was because there was literally no fighting this fire. The fire was every direction at once, and up and down and from every side, and then changing. And the water supply was not there. And so when they got back here, they were stuck back here and couldn't get in and out. And I think that their whole job at that point was just to save people, which they did. And as far as going to each structure and putting out the fire, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was really not something that that even could have been done. And so I really feel like they did everything that they possibly could have. And then in the days to come, there were still fire spots, and they came and put those out right away. But that first night was like something we have never seen, and an unfightable fire at that point.
It was blowing super hard, and even if you, like I took the time to sit up at the search dog area for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes and just watch the fire come down, and it burned, you know, a half a mile in about 2 minutes or so. And then it was on me. Then I got in my truck and I'm like, okay, this is bad right now. I need to start heading down. And then by the time I got out of their property, the fire was burning through the search dog property and reached Wheeler Canyon Road, and then just kept on going across the road and towards the city of Ventura.
At one point, I remember I just stopped and I looked around. Every single thing I could see was on fire, everything. And it was crackling like a giant campfire. I felt like I was this big in the middle of a huge campfire. It was surreal and terrifying, but in a weird way, kind of beautiful for a moment. You know, it was terrible, but it was also just like, wow, I need to soak this in, because I will never, hopefully never, but I'll never see anything like this again. It was just indescribable, really. We had 11 inches of rain after that in the rainy season, which I don't remember at all, but I wrote it down, so we had it. And then everything came back so green and so lush, and I have pictures of everything just being gone. It's just black, everything. I mean, not our trees, but pretty much everything was, well, even some of the trees were all black. The oak trees, no leaves, black. And then we had that rain and everything came back. And it's almost like it didn't happen.
From the fire department's point of view, you know, life safety is our #1 priority. So we're gonna drop everything to protect lives, and that was Chief Serpanic's plan, and I implemented that plan. There's just tons of stories like this that happened that night everywhere, and I was fortunate enough to, you know, to help you out. So
Thank goodness.
yeah.